Hello everybody. Today I'm going to take you through a solo adventure, the Dungeons & Dragons module called Blizzard Past, using a first level character that I created in a previous video using the basic fantasy book. So the first part, when you open up the module, it just kind of goes over how to play the game, what dice you'll need, and just the general instructions, but it's very straightforward. It's essentially just read the paragraphs and choose what you want to do. Follow the instructions, really. So let's just go ahead and begin. So part 2, the solo adventure. You slip and slide around the icy corner, your lungs aching from the cold air. A low wall blocks your path, and you fall attempting to avoid the unexpected barrier. A dull pain flares in your shoulder as you strike the frozen ground. "There's the cur," a man snarls. "The peasants have found you again." The crowd presses closer, their dark faces twisted with anger. "Murderer," cries an old lady. "I was framed," you gasp. "The peasants will not listen, even though what you say is true." "Kill the swine," says a flat, uneven voice. The words are backed by the authority of the sheriff. A man in front throws a fist-sized rock at you. Even though you try to dodge, the rock strikes your cheek. Your face is so cold you barely feel it strike, but a long trickle of blood soon runs down your face. A man carrying a wooden club pushes through the crowd. You jump to your feet and kick the man in the stomach before he reacts. You turn around and scramble over the wall. You find yourself in an alley leading to the town gate. The gate itself stands open several yards ahead. You hear the peasants trying to climb over the wall. "Stop! Stop, murderer!" they cry. You run toward the open gate. As you approach, a guard steps into the road. His hand rests on his sword. "There's a murderer loose," you shout. His mouth opens. But before he can say anything, you strike his jaw with your fist. His teeth snap together and his head flops back. He crashes to the icy ground. As you run through the gate, a bowstring twangs and an arrow zips past your shoulder. Ahead you see a stand of evergreen trees. You run full speed towards the trees, slipping and sliding along the icy road. The peasants howl and scream, following close behind. You plunge into the stand of trees, snapping and tearing at the branches as you struggle through the deep snow. Soon you hear the peasants yelling and screaming as they follow you into the forest. After several minutes of struggle, you emerge from the trees. Much to your surprise, a merchant's sledge travels along the edge of the forest. Without hesitating, you catch the back and pull yourself inside. You quickly burrow under its cargo of furs and cloth, hoping to hide until it carries you a safe distance from the village. After several minutes of slow movement, the sledge stops. You hear many muffled, angry voices, but you cannot understand all the conversation. Did murderer, escaped, attacked town guard? No, simple merchants, caravan over the pass. Maybe, search sledges. You lie as still as possible, scarcely daring to breathe. Soon, the back of the sledge rattles and you hear someone pull the cover back. You feel a man digging through the furs on top of the load, but he stops before reaching you. "Only furs and carpets in here," he says gruffly. He throws the furs back and the voices fade away. You allow a sigh to escape your lungs. At last, the sledge jerks and moves again. Soon you are very drowsy and allow the movement of the sledge to rock you to sleep. When you awake, the caravan is still moving. You have no idea how long you have slept. You are hungry, thirsty, and your muscles are cramped. By now, it must be late afternoon. Will you stay hidden until dusk or jump out of the sledge? So, Saya Ringworm, that's our first level thief. These are all his stats: Strength 16, Intelligence 15, Wisdom 15, Dex 18, Con 15, Charisma 9. Level 1, there's his saving throws. His armor class is 16, he's using leather. He has a short sword, a short bow, and a dagger. Thieves' tools, backpack, and torches. All right, let's return back to our adventure here. So Sai has escaped town. Now he's in a sledge, and we have two options. We can stay hidden until dusk, or jump out of the sledge right now. I say let's stay hidden until dusk. So let's go read that paragraph. As it grows dark, you crawl from your hiding place and climb off the sledge. When your feet touch the snow, you feel a sharp jab in your back. "Ho, Variet," says a rough voice. "Where do you come from?" You turn and see two men mounted on ponies. They wear heavy furs and leather armor. One holds a lance level with your chest. The other, a grizzled fellow with black beard, says, "You better come along with us. Go to entry 4. The two guards march you alongside a caravan of sledges. You often sink into snow up to your knees, and bitter cold numbs your hands and face. All along the trail, drivers whip their ponies and struggle to free stuck sledges. Finally, you reach the front of the caravan. The drivers have already drawn several sledges into a small stand of evergreens to make camp. Several men stand huddled around a large campfire. As you approach, the black-bearded rider says, Master Vizond, what new cargo do you now carry?" He prods you into the center of the camp with his lance. A thin fur-clothed man turns around and eyes you warily. "What's this?" he asks. The black-bearded one swings off his mount and shoves you forward toward Vizond. "We caught this cur in your load." He claps his hands together over the fire and rubs them. "Well then," says Vizond, "so you would take passage over Blizzard Pass in my caravan." "Shall we send him out to freeze, Master Vizond?" asked the black-bearded one anxiously. "I would say it is he the villagers sought," says the other rider. This man's voice is gentle yet strong. You study him closely for several seconds. The man is an elf. "Aye," says the first rider. "Be careful, murderer, or I'll do the villagers' job for them." "No," Vizond says. "We will not harm the stranger. I am short of workers. He will earn his passage as a sledge worker." Vizond turns to you. "I trust you do not mind." That night you help the others prepare a camp, tend the animals, and cook dinner. After you finish eating, you curl up on a bed of old furs Vizond gives you and pass a cold, restless night. The caravan starts over the pass early the next morning. You struggle through the deep snow alongside the sledges, often stopping to heave and push the heavy vehicle through long, deep drifts of snow. By afternoon, you hear the top of the pass, but the sky has grown dim with clouds. Vizond halts the caravan and talks with Darius, the guide. Finally, he calls back. "We go on." Darius says the snow will not come before nightfall. Within an hour, the sky turns stormy gray, and howling winds whip the powdery snow so fiercely you cannot see 2 feet. You grab the sledge and hold on, praying it does not leave you behind in this terrible blizzard. The sledge soon stops, and a few other workers huddle near you. You crouch next to the sledge, listening to the winds wail and staring blankly into the curtain of falling snow. Eventually you see the shadowy form of a man stumbling toward you through the driving snow. It's Vizond. "We're lost," he cries to you. "Tie a rope to yourself and search ahead. Will you agree or refuse?" All right, so I say tie a rope to yourself and search ahead. Will you agree? Refuse. Let's agree. Let's go to paragraph 5. You tie the rope around your waist and stumble through the blizzard. The wind whips the snow so hard you cannot even see the sledge. You continue to trudge through the snow and soon see a few shadowy shapes ahead. You press on through the blizzard, hoping the shapes are the rest of the caravan. Suddenly, you see a pair of beady red eyes moving toward you. A small, ugly creature charges out of the blizzard, a heavy stick raised in his gnarled hand. Roll a 1d6. Okay, so we have our first roll of the game here. My trusty 6-sider. 5. If you roll a 1 to 4, go to entry 7. If you roll a 5, 6, go to entry 8. Entry 8. Will you fight the creature or run away? Well, let's go to paragraph 10. Let's fight the creature. Let's get some action here. You swing at the creature with your fists. Armor class 6. If you hit, go to entry 12. If you miss, go to entry 13. Well, armor class 6, that's using the THACO system, so D&D, being a D&D module. But I'm playing basic fantasy, so I'm going to convert this. And simply to convert it, you would just 6 minus 20. So we would need a 14 or higher to hit. And do we have a bonus to hit? Well, we're using fists, so Sai has a 16 strength. So we get a +2 because we're only using our fists. So let's go ahead and roll and get +2. 14 plus 2 is 16. If you hit, so we did hit, we needed a 14 or higher. If you hit, go to entry 12. Entry 12. You hit the creature with your fist and it falls. At the same time, something strikes you in the back. You turn and see another of the ugly little creatures. The creature hits you in the shin with its stick, and your leg slips out from beneath you. As you fall, it clubs you in the head. Go to entry 14. Entry 14. Your head throbs painfully as you awaken. Despite the heavy fog in your groggy mind, you hear several people talking. We're as good as dead no matter what we do. Why bother? Hold your tongue, Termil, for our companion wakes. We should not make his return to the living unpleasant. You slowly open your eyes. Even the dim gray light of the room hurts at first, but your eyes soon adjust to the lighting. As you look about the room, use map AA, okay, we can go look at that in a bit, you see you are locked in an underground cell with 3 others from the caravan. The floor of the cell is littered with the grime of several years. A portly, balding man walks over to you. I am called Roderick, stranger. This is Termil, and the elf is named Salamdros, he says, waving his hand toward the others. You recognize Salamdros as one of the guards who captured you earlier. All of you have been stripped of your possessions, even your cloaks and boots. Redrick kneels beside you and skillfully prods your skull. Hold still, tilt your head. He pokes a swollen lump on your temple, and you flinch. Nasty lumps you have here, but you will live. He bows his head and whispers to himself for a moment, then looks up and says, I have some powers of healing. If you find yourself in need, tell me, but I warn you, I can heal you only once. Go to entry 56 when you decide to accept Roderick's offer. Okay, so we'll make note of that. Roderick will not heal you while your party is engaged in combat, for he will be too busy fighting to cast a spell. You crawl to the bars of the cell. They appear to be wood, but seem unusually strong. You test them and find they are quite solid. The door is locked by a rusty padlock and chain. Forget it, murderer, the elf says. One cannot escape that way. We are doomed to die in this cell. The room beyond the cell is lit by a sputtering lamp on a scared table. The crumbling walls of the chamber glisten with moisture. You hear faint echoes of dripping water behind 2 worn furs hanging on the chamber walls. Terramil sits beside you. We're in a nasty fix, we are. Those little men have got us good, and I can say it'll be an easy death when they do us in. Terramil pauses, then renews his conversation. How'd they nab you? Took 5 of them to pull me down. Popped off 2 or 3 more, I did. I suppose remember me for that, I do. When you do not answer, he continues thoughtfully. Sure was funny the way that storm popped up, don't you think? You nod agreement and study the rest of your companions. The elf sits in the corner with his knees drawn up to his chin. Roderick continues to whisper, oblivious to the exterior world. You hear a gruff voice humming some dark and gloomy tune as it approaches the chamber. The curtain parts and a small, scaly dog-faced creature steps into the room. It comes to the cage and prods Terma with a long stick. Not much fat on you, it stutters in common. But big fat man there, it points at Roderick. Makes good dinner, eat soon. It chuckles, then jabs Terma with the stick. You make good dessert, nice and juicy. Terma lets out a terrific sigh and collapses to the ground. The creature chuckles, then leaves the room. You must escape soon. Will you examine the padlock or search the cell? Okay, so examine the padlock or search the cell. Well, I'm a thief, so let's check out the padlock. 15. As you examine the padlock and chain, the elf says, Why waste your time, murderer? Our situation is hopeless. You ignore the elf and continue your inspection. Both the padlock and chain are rusty and battered. You reach the bars near the door and twist the lock around. Despite its ragged appearance, the lock will require a metal tool to open. The chain, however, has many thin links that are nearly rusted through. Several strong people might break it. Will you try to break the chain or search the room? Well, we have to get out of here in a hurry. So let us try to break the chain. You grasp the chain and pull, saying, "Help me, you fools." Terramel comes to your aid immediately. Salamandros slowly stands and stretches, saying, "I suppose I can do no harm." "Come, Roderick, let us entertain the fool." Salamandros and Roderick slowly rise and wrap their hands around the chain. If your strength is 15 or more, go to entry 19. If it is not, go to entry 20. Well, size strength is 16, so let's go to entry 19. The chain and padlock fall away. The four of you quickly leave the cell. Terramel says, "We'd better find some weapons." He begins searching the room. Salamandros goes to the furs covering one of the exits and peeks behind it. "All clear this way." After looking behind the other fur, Roderick turns to you and says, "You have freed us. Where you lead, I shall follow." He turns to the others. "This one will be our leader." Terramel stops his search. "Wait a minute," he says. "What's this? Who says we need a leader?" Salamandros stands back and eyes you coldly. "If we wish to escape alive, we need a leader," says Roderick forcefully. "Not me," snaps Terramel. "I've had it with getting pushed around. I will not follow the orders of a murderer," says Salamandros. "You are a fool to do so." "Murderer," squeaks Terramel. "We have no proof," Roderick snaps. "You would hang a man because another called him a dog. We need a leader, and I have not seen either of you do anything worthy of the honor." While the others argue, you hear a faint, off-key humming behind the curtain. Will you tell the others to stop arguing and return to the cell, or grab a stool and attack whatever comes through the door? And I also, a while back, a few paragraphs back, about Roderick. He's able to heal me. So I did make note of that. So I go to paragraph 56 when I decide to heal, if I ever need it. We were also told we were in map AA. So here is where we are. There's a curtain over here. There's the cage, and there's a table with 4 chairs, I believe. All right, so we can tell the others to stop arguing and return to the cell, or grab a stool and attack whoever comes through the door. Well, let's go back to the cell. Let's play it cool. So paragraph 22. "Stop arguing, fools," you say. "Get back in the cell. I can hear something coming." The others stare at you blankly. Finally, Terramel snaps. "Who do you think you are? Ordering us around like we're manservants or something." "Wait," Salamandros hisses, raising his hand. "I hear it too." He runs back into the cell, and the others quickly follow. Once everyone is inside, you close the door and drape the chain through the bars as if the padlock were still fastened. An ugly little dog-like creature enters the room, carrying a wineskin and a sword. You shout, "I'm thirsty, you runt. You don't want dry meat, do you?" The beast turns towards you and says, "Make fun of me?" It snatches a stick and approaches the cell. "But poke you hard so meat is tender when I eat you," it says, jabbing you with the stick. Will you try to grab the creature through the bars, or charge out the door to capture it? Well, let's take it by surprise. Let's charge out through the door and capture it. Paragraph 26. You push the door open. The chain falls away and you all rush out of the cell. The beast's eyes open wide in surprise, and it stutters in an unknown language. You may try to grab it. Armor class 7. If you are successful, go to entry 24. If you miss, go to entry 25. All right, so the armor class is 7. So we're going to go ahead and roll this, 7 from 20, so we need 13 or higher in basic fantasy mechanics. So I'm going to roll this and add our strength, +2. So let's see if we hit it. 16 plus 2 is 18. That is a success. Go to entry 24 if you're successful. You rush out of the cell and tackle the creature. The beast squirms and twists, nearly escaping your grasp. Before it works itself completely free, Roderick grasps its ankle. While you and Roderick struggle with the creature, Terramel snatches a stool and hits the creature's head time after time. Finally, a mad fire dwindling from his eyes, he stops and says, "Not a bad little weapon, is it?" Go to entry 32. 32. You may claim the beast's sword. Turamil will use the stool as a club. Roderick overturns a table, then breaks one of the legs off to use as a club. Salamandros also breaks a leg off the table. Though you search the room thoroughly, you find nothing else of use except the lamp. You may leave by the exit near the cell, or by the exit on the far wall. Well, we claim the beast's sword, so I'm assuming it's a short sword. Anyway, so we have that there on size character sheet. Let's continue. All right, where were we? You may leave the exit near the cell, or by the exit on the far wall. Let's go by the exit on the far wall. 79. 79. You carefully open the curtain and peer down the passage. It travels only a few feet before it turns to the left. A faint light glows around the corner. Will you move ahead silently, or advance at a normal pace? Well, I'm a thief, so let's move silently. 80. Paragraph 80. There is only the slightest whisper of leather on stone as you move down the corridor. Use your invisible ink marking pen to fill in any one box for every level of your character. Okay, so and if any number is less than or equal to your move silently percentage, go to entry 81. If all the numbers are greater, go to entry 2. Well, you know what? That's no fun. I want to actually roll some dice. So let's go ahead and just, I think, take a look at Psy here. And Psy's move silently skill is 25. So let's try to roll 25 or under on our dice here. So there's our two 10-siders. This will be the 10s. This will be the 1s. Let's do it. So 25 or under. It's not very good. 22. Success. Okay, if we are successful, we go to paragraph 82, and that's where we are. You round the corner, your weapon in hand. The passage continues for several yards, then opens to a room on the right. Light streams from this room. You carefully move down the hallway. Soon a man leaps around the corner and walks towards you. Roll 1d6. If you roll a 1 or 2, go to entry 85. If you roll a 3 or 6, go to entry 86. Okay, so let's roll 6-sider. 2. 2 is, if you roll a 1 or 2, go to entry 85. 85. Your foot scrapes against a pebble and sends it bouncing down the hallway. The man looks up, startled, then turns to run back the way he came. You quickly call the others and tell them what happened. Will you move forward, ready for trouble, or return to the room with the cell? Let's move forward, ready for trouble. 89. 89. You cautiously lead the group along the passage and peer around the corner. The corridor appears empty, except for a well-lit opening on the right. You sneak along the wall to the doorway and peer into it. We'll take a look at map FF after this. The room beyond contains a table and several chairs. There is an opening in the far wall. Will you lead the group into the room or return to the room with the cell? Let's lead the others into the room. Let's go to 95. You step into the room and glimpse a mace flashing towards the side of your head. You throw yourself forward, trying to avoid the blow. Even so, you feel the weapon scrape your back. Take 2 points of damage. It's a trap. Will you run for the far exit or stand and fight? So we took 2 points of damage, so down to 3 hit points. We can run for the far exit or stand and fight. Let's stand and fight. 101. 101. As you stand, a man leaps towards you, swinging a mace. You duck, and the weapon sweeps over your head. While you dodge the man's attack, Roderick and Turamil engage 2 more of the ambushers at the doorway. One of the attackers strikes Turamil, who collapses. You can now see Salamandros, who stands outside the doorway, making strange gestures with his hands and uttering words you don't understand. You are suddenly very sleepy. The next thing you remember is Roderick shaking your shoulder. "Wake up, we must go," he says. You mumble and turn over, trying to get back to sleep. He shakes your shoulder once more, then slaps you hard in the face. You raise your arm to block the second blow. "Enough," you say. "I'm awake." Your opponents are nowhere in sight. Salamandros is struggling into his chainmail, and you see your own equipment on the table. "We found our equipment stored in this room," says Roderick, helping you up. "Turamil is dead. I could do nothing to save him. We must now push on without him. Go to entry 106. 106. You pull the curtain aside carefully and see a heavy portcullis. Will you attempt to lift the gate or search it for traps? Well, I think I'll stop there. I think you get a pretty good idea of what this is all about by now. It's very straightforward, very much just to choose your own adventure. There's quite a bit here. I mean, it gives you lots and lots of paragraphs. It's an average size module in terms of pages that you'd find for D&D modules back then, a good 30-something pages. There's not a lot of, it appears to be not a lot of D&D mechanics that are implemented. But maybe if I get further into it, I might see a lot more of that. It's very simple, but it's entertaining enough. It's got some nice maps back here that you referred to. We referred to AA, and we also referred to, I believe it was to FF or KK. Can't remember, FF maybe. Anyway, but that's it right there. The module also has a monster section because you can also play this as a group. It actually has some text in here that goes over how to run this as a group. But we'll conclude the exciting adventure of Psy Ringworm right there. So if you've played this before, let me know. Perhaps you can recommend other solo D&D adventures that was released back then by TSR. So yes, I'd like to hear back from you. Leave a comment below if you have anything to say about this, if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, if it's something that you'd like to see me do more of, if you want me to do the continuing adventure through Blizzard's Pass with Psy Ringworm. But that's about it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Take care, and bye-bye for now.